All right. I call the 2,403rd meeting of the Milwaukee City Council to order. This meeting is being held in person at City Hall and by video conference. The public may participate in this meeting by coming to City Hall or joining the Zoom webinar. The meeting is being broadcast live on the city's YouTube channel and on Comcast Cable Channel 30 within city limits. There will be opportunities for the public to speak during this meeting. If you would like to address council, you may come to City Hall or participate via Zoom. If you are interested in speaking, please let staff know by filling out a yellow comment card for those at City Hall or emailing ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov for those on Zoom. When it is time to take public comments, staff will monitor the comment cards, email inbox, and Zoom participant list and chat. We will take comments in the order they are received and seen. Comments may be emailed to ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov. We ask that all Zoom participants who intend to speak label their Zoom username to show their first and last names for the record. Spanish translation services are available upon request. The public is asked to request translation and other meeting accessibility services at least 48 hours before the meeting. For more information, contact the city recorder at 503-786-7502. Servicios de traducción en español está disponible cuando sea solicitado. Se pide al público que solicite servicios de traducción y otros servicios de accesibilidad por lo menos 48 horas antes de la reunión. Para obtener más información, llama a el secretario de la ciudad a 503-786-7502. Translation services are also available in other languages. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The City of Milwaukee respectfully acknowledges that our community is located on the ancestral homeland of the Clackamas people. In 1855, the surviving members of the Clackamas signed the Willamette Valley Treaty, also known as the Kalapuya etc. Treaty, with the federal government in good faith. We offer our respect and gratitude to the indigenous people of this land. And before we launch into announcements, I do just want to say that it is Election Day. Turnout is notoriously low on primary elections, but you have 1 hour and 45 minutes to get your ballot to the ballot box in front of City Hall or the one over in front of the Public Safety Building. So get those ballots in. So announcements. Please join me in the community room here at the first floor of City Hall on Friday, June 7th at 4:30 p.m. as I deliver the 2024 State of the City Address. Then stay downtown for First Friday, which begins at 5 p.m. The city's garbage and recycling collectors annually offer a curbside pickup for large, bulky items that don't fit in the weekly collection containers. This year's Bulky Waste Day is on Saturday, June 8th and June 15th. Which day your items will be picked up depends on where you live in the city. To find out which day your items will be picked up and for other information, contact your hauler or visit the city's website at milwaukeeoregon.gov. The 2024 Juneteenth celebration will take place on Saturday, June 15th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Ball Michelle Park. All are welcome to the community-led gathering to celebrate, reflect, and amplify Black voices in the city. The event includes music, vendors, food, face painting, kids' games, and other family-friendly activities. Save the date for a community-led festive gathering to celebrate LGBTQIA+ Pride Month on Saturday, June 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The event will take place at the South Downtown Plaza, which is located at Southeast Washington and Main Street. For more information about these events and others, please visit the city's homepage at milwaukieoregon.gov or call 503-786-7555. And then in recognition of both Election Day and Dogwood Day, the Office of the City Recorder provided a haiku, and I really appreciate that. I'm always looking for haiku, so anyone out there who would like to write a haiku about Milwaukie, about the springtime, about the end of school, anything that strikes your fancy and is PG rated, please send me your haiku. So this one, a hometown pride day, electoral choice for all. It is Dogwood Day. So thanks to Scott and Nicole and the City Recorder's Office for submitting that. And with that, we will turn to the Dogwood Day Proclamation, and I will turn it over to our City Recorder.
Thank you, Mayor Bay. Let me get myself situated with my...
And I think he's going to be assisted by...
That's right.
a couple people here.
Thank you, Mayor Beatty and Council. It's great always to have the annual opportunity to take a moment and appreciate the organization, the formal organization of our community. The city was incorporated by an act of the legislature in 1903, and the date that was stuck in that spring was May 21st. And so it's been marked since the 80s as Dogwood Day. And it's been a great privilege and honor for the City Recorder's Office to have amazing community partners to celebrate this and to do other important archives and veterans-related work that we've done over the years with our good partners at the Milwaukie Historical Society and the Daughters of the American Revolution, Susanna Lee Barlow chapter. And so before I launch into a little bit more of our Dogwood show today, I will turn it over to Phyllis and Steve to say a few remarks.
Good evening. The missions for the Daughters of the American Revolution are historic preservation, education, and patriotism. In 1920, chapters were charged with, and I quote, "It is the desire of the National Society that every chapter collect data relative to historic spots in its vicinity, and if not otherwise marked, to memorialize them." Our chapter dedicated the Dogwood tree marker commemorating the tree's scenic contribution to the community. It is a bronze plaque which was placed at the grounds where the tree was located on Harrison Street. The inscription is Dogwood tree, the native Pacific dogwood over 100 years old, the largest in the United States, height 65 feet, circumference 7 feet. Susanna Lee Barlow chapter, DAR, April 27, 1952. After the tree was removed due to damage in the 1962 Columbus Day storm, the marker was moved to the grounds of the Milwaukie Museum. Our chapter recognizes Dogwood Day and its significance to the history of the city of Milwaukie. To support education, our chapter mailed packets to the 10 elementary schools within Milwaukie. The packets contained information about the history and significance of the Dogwood tree and Dogwood Day, and how the study of local history connects to state social studies standards. The Susanna Lee Barlow chapter is pleased to be part of the City of Milwaukee's annual Dogwood Day recognition. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Happy 121 years. And thanks for being given this opportunity to celebrate with you. Being given the opportunity to manage its own affairs 121 years ago, including figuring out how to pay the bills, hasn't always been easy for Milwaukie, but it has thrived and continues to grow. The Historical Society is looking forward for a couple of our own anniversaries that we feel tie into this celebration. In a couple of years, actually 3 years, we will be celebrating the 90th anniversary of the Society in Milwaukie. I'm looking forward to coming back at that point and doing a more formal celebration. Perhaps even more important, though, is next year is our 50th anniversary of the Milwaukie Museum, which we are also looking forward to. And I'm not saying this to try to upstage Dogwood Days to our own home, because really, I want to acknowledge the close relationship that the society has had with the city for all these years. And wanted to make sure that we were doing something to kind of give you and the city a birthday present, if you will, for this relationship. We've been working hard on several different things that I wanted to mention. One is the focus on the building itself, the Milwaukie Museum. It needs help both inside and out. As you probably know, the core of this building next year will be 200 years old, built in 1865. And we're looking forward to providing a more stable and firm foundation for it to continue and thrive. But more importantly, we are working on organizing and better preserving our collection. And I mention this because this is our gift, and this will be an ongoing gift to the city. Once we are done, we'll have a better idea of what we have and what needs to be preserved. And it's our goal to make that available to the community through a website so that they can use our collection and use the research tools that we have to more easily answer the questions that they might have about the history of the city. I know it's a long-term goal. It's not right now, but it is a goal that I think that is achievable certainly within the next 3 years to do this. This is a huge undertaking. Finally, I wanted to also mention the new exhibit that's coming out in June on things that are made or produced in Milwaukie. And it's going to be an exhibit that shows things that were made here, produced here, but are known around the world and perhaps even beyond the world. We'll let that be right now as it is. But I did want to end tonight with a virtual toast to the city on its 121st anniversary. And I brought along from our collection an unopened bottle of Concord grape wine from the Redwoods Winery. And you may not know, but the Redwoods Winery was the 5th bonded winery in the state of Oregon. It ran from or produced wines here in Milwaukie from 1930 to the 1960s. We recently discovered in doing the collections that we had this bottle, but we didn't know where it was, and we found it. So here's the toast for you. I'm not going to open it. You're not going to want to drink it. It's 60 years old, Concord grape wine, or now vinegar. But in any respect, I thought it would be appropriate to just have something to share with you as a gift from the collection. So thank you all. Congratulations, and look forward to another 121 years and beyond.
Cheers. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Philip.
I had no idea there had been a winery in Milwaukie. Who knew? We learned a lot. And I guess I will.
I've got a couple slides.
Oh, okay. You've got some other awards to hand out. Yeah.
One of the primary ways we've marked Dogwood Day in recent years is through an annual Instagram photo contest, because if there's one thing we all know is that the dogwood for the month that they're in bloom are spectacular, and we have amazing photographers in our community. And so here is just a little bit about the Instagram contest. First of all, to start with the original photo, the photo of the tree that kicked it off back in the 50s. The dogwood tree that once stood at what is pretty close to 32nd and Harrison on the property of our first mayor, Mayor Schindler. And the Schindler family continues to own that property, but the tree was felled in the 60s. But that kicked it off, and that's probably what largely inspired our photo contest. And we had an historic year for the number of submissions. We had 33 photos submitted. I think in previous years, our high was in the teens. So kudos, Milwaukie, well done. You are all amazing photographers. This is obviously not 33 photos, and anybody can see all 33 by going to Instagram and searching the hashtag Milwaukie Dogwood. hashtag, the Milwaukie Dogwood hashtag, and you can see them all. And we had our selection committee had a lot of choices this year, and it was great. It was fantastic. So we have some really clever folks who do a lot of things with lighting, and found the varying colors between the pink and the white blooms. There's ones that have both. There's one that look more green. So thank you, Milwaukie, for 33 photos this year. And this year, we have an honorable mention and a winner. And I don't know that either of those folks are in the audience. We invited them to attend tonight, but here's the honorable mention from @Kelsey Allen 97. A beautiful, stunning pink, just really popped. Kelsey, they have submitted before and were also selected. Kelsey Allen 97, if you're listening, please come by City Hall to pick up your lovely certificate and your little Dogwood Day kudos, and drum roll. Our big winner this year is @Susan Pesnecker, who submitted this beautiful photo, and kind of seeing it on the slide here doesn't maybe do it total justice. So I really encourage folks to go to Instagram and look that up. But it's a really stunning blue, got the sky really well, and then it's from under the petals. And so there's some layering that's going on in that shot. And this was our 2024 winner. And in addition to the certificate and the stickers and whatnot, @Sue Pesnecker, you also got a puzzle waiting for you at City Hall, a Dogwood Day puzzle. So please come to City Hall for that. And with that, Mayor Beatty, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Whereas the Pacific dogwood, Cornus nutalii, was nurtured and cultivated by the earliest settlers of the Milwaukie area, including the Clackamas people who used the dogwood to weave baskets and make other utensils. And whereas the Oregon State Legislature incorporated the town of Milwaukie on May 21st, 1903, after years of organized community action that sought to seek local control of the area's infrastructure and shared spaces. And whereas on April 27th, 1952, a plaque was placed by the Susanna Lee Barlow chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution at the home of Milwaukee's first mayor, William Schindler, to mark the location of the then largest native Pacific dogwood in the United States, which stood at 65 feet in height and 7 feet in circumference. And whereas on July 9th, 1962, the City Council designated the Pacific dogwood as the city's official flower and the Dogwood City of the West as the city's nickname. And whereas the people of Milwaukie continue to appreciate the Pacific dogwood and other dogwood species by planting them in yards, parks, and shared spaces. And whereas by designating May 21st as Dogwood Day, Milwaukie continues to recognize the beauty of the dogwood blossom as an emblem of our shared commitment to the earth and to each other. Now, therefore, I, Lisa Beatty, Mayor of the City of Milwaukie, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 21st, 2024 to be Dogwood Day in Milwaukie, the Dogwood City of the West. Thank you. Happy Dogwood Day, everyone. And Steve is staying up here because we are moving on to our Historic Preservation Month proclamation. As noted, Milwaukie as a city is 121 years old, but there were people here before that I noticed, I know we have a project coming into town that is labeling itself 1847. So I take it that's a significant year in Milwaukee's formation. There are a lot, so there's some great slides here, and I really appreciate Steve providing all these of some of the original Bernard's Garage, there we go. A lot of the old historic homes and other structures around town, some long gone, some still here. And with that, I will turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Brief remarks. The Milwaukie Museum does share in the interest of the city in preserving its historic past. Some of the buildings I had here, and I've got a lot more that I could have used, are a testament to the wide variety of architecture that we have. And when we can preserve it, it's a valuable exercise. We have started taking steps. We started actually last year to take steps to kick off historic inventory. We've done some of the mapping already that shows where the houses are that need to be surveyed. And we're also working through some of the technical challenges just to kind of get preparation for this. So it is something that we are interested in, would like to see getting done, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with the city and others, the state and others, in terms of getting this inventory done and having a positive result. It's a lot of work. There's about 4,700 houses or buildings that would qualify because of the age of them, 50 years and older in Milwaukie. So there's a lot to be dealt with. But we're looking forward to it, and we are very much involved and interested in getting it done. So, thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. So with that, I guess I will read the proclamation, as we have a few more proclamations to come. Oh, sorry. Okay, I was gonna say I could pull it up on my own computer. But whereas the preservation of historic places is an effective tool for revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character, and the preservation and reuse of historic buildings is inherently sustainable and environmentally sound. And whereas since 1973, the National Trust for Historic Preservation and countless communities across the United States have marked May as an annual time to recognize the importance of preserving places that reflect America's history. And whereas modern-day Milwaukie first settled in 1847 on the historic homeland of the Clackamas people, encompasses a range of potentially historic buildings from late pioneer era structures through Victorian, craftsman, and other historic areas and styles to exceptional mid-century architecture. And whereas residents of Milwaukie and the many volunteers of the Milwaukie Historical Society have helped raise awareness of historic resources and buildings in our community, including launching the first historic homes tour in 2019, working with fellow residents, realizing their homes' histories, and offering assistance with updating Milwaukee's historic home inventory. And whereas the preservation of historic places has a positive impact on communities by strengthening neighborhoods, encouraging local economic growth, providing a physical link to the past, and by being environmentally responsible. Now, therefore, I, Lisa Beatty, Mayor of the City of Milwaukie, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as Historic Preservation Month in Milwaukie to increase public understanding of the importance of preserving our history for future generations. Thank you, Steve, and yeah, thank you. Okay, moving on to Memorial Day. And I will turn this one over to the council president.
Well, I don't think we have any guest speakers.
I don't think we do.
Yeah, okay. So we'll get right into it.
Oh. I mean, you are welcome to make, whatever remarks you would like to make, but yeah.
Memorial Day is one of several days of recognition in our country that salute members of the armed forces and veterans. But Memorial Day is particularly poignant because beyond Veterans Day and Armed Forces Day, Memorial Day recognizes those who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country. And you can see it when you go to Arlington National Cemetery. It's quite moving. I hope that all of you have a chance to visit that hallowed ground at some point. But let me go ahead and get the proclamation going. Whereas the United States of America is an enduring symbol of freedom protected willingly by citizen soldiers who have answered the call to serve, and we must never forget the sacrifices of war and the debt owed to those who defended our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas Memorial Day, originally known as Decoration Day, originated following the American Civil War, which claimed more lives than any prior conflict and required the establishment of the country's first national cemeteries, and Memorial Day was established as a national holiday in 1971. And whereas Memorial Day provides an opportunity to reflect on and honor the past, renew and pass on patriotism, pay tribute to the sacrifices that allow us to continue to live in freedom and seek peace so that our veterans will not have died in vain. And whereas in 2019, the Milwaukie Police Department and the American Legion Post 180 established the Corporal Diffie Veterans Fund to address financial support gaps experienced by veterans and their families in need of emergency assistance. This is a fund which has grown with the support of other communities in the metro area. And whereas the Milwaukie community recognizes Memorial Day through various activities, including a pancake breakfast fundraiser for the Corporal Diffie Veteran Fund, now therefore Lisa Beatty, the mayor of Milwaukie, a municipal corporation of the county of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, hereby proclaims May 27th to be Memorial Day in the city of Milwaukie.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And then we have a new proclamation this year, and Councilor Khosrowshahi sort of brought it to our attention, and so I wanted to give him a chance to introduce it.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as some of you, most of you, well, hopefully everybody, knows, this month is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And some of you may not know, but the Middle East is in Asia. So we are part of that community. And I do think it is something worth having a proclamation over to highlight a lot of what this community has brought to this country and brought to Milwaukie. Hence the Bing Cherry. That's a pretty historical thing. So I think this is a good start to honor that heritage and honor those individuals who have sacrificed so much to come to this country and help build it to what it is today. And I could think of no one better within our own community, a leader, Liz Start, to introduce this proclamation and say a few words as well about what this means to her.
Thank you, Councilor Khosrowshahi, and Honorable Mayor and Honorable City Councilors. I just want to start with saying representation matters. Being part of this community, having a welcoming and thriving community of Milwaukie is so important. And so I really appreciate that you're taking time to recognize Asian American Pacific Islander History Month. Our history is so important, and we need to recognize that history to be able to move forward as a community, to continue to grow Milwaukie as a thriving and welcoming community that's inclusive for everyone. I think we have to honor the history of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, especially in our area. In the 1880s, the Chinese Exclusion Act was implemented that, as Councilor Khosrowshahi referred to, the Bing Cherry, Bing, was forced to leave this, or not be able to come back to this country. There's a lot of racism and hatred toward Asian Americans, especially Chinese folks at that time. Then fast forward to World War II, where Japanese Americans were pulled from their home, farmers in Milwaukie who lived here had homes, thriving businesses, their belongings, and were incarcerated in concentration camps within the US that we don't talk about. All because of the color of their skin, but we're talking about, or I'm sorry, because of the way they looked and color of their skin. And these were American citizens. And whether or not they were American citizens or not, that still was a huge harm to the Japanese American community. And it's sad to see, that there's still this hate that exists. I've spoken to some of you, that I've faced racism, going to, Clackamas Park or the park by the Milwaukie Center. And it's a hard truth. So this is why I say representation matters. Recognizing the importance of Asian Americans in our community, whether from the Middle East or China, Southeast Asia, from the Pacific Islands, we all are contributing to being part of this thriving society, bringing some beautiful cultural traditions to our community and really building that up. So I'm honored to be here today, and thank you all for recognizing and really working towards building that equitable community where anyone, Asian American, Pacific Islander, or other, can feel welcome and loved in this community. And it's so important that you all have taken time to create this proclamation. And so thank you for honoring this.
Well, thank you for coming out, Liz. We really appreciate it. And I note our equity manager, Gabriella, is here in the audience today, too. Would you like to read it?
Liz, would you like to read it?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm sorry if you can't.
I will do my best. Whereas the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month was first observed by the United States Congress in 1977 and has been observed annually since then, and whereas the city of Milwaukie wishes to pay tribute to the generations of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders in our community, this month provides us an opportunity to reflect on the vibrant culture and innumerable contributions AAPI residents make to our community. And whereas the national theme for AAPI Heritage Month 2024 is Advancing Leaders Through Innovation, Milwaukie encourages greater participation, inclusion, and leadership training for our AAPI residents, acknowledging they will be instrumental to the future success of our city. And whereas the history of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders is filled with stories of resilience, persistence, and determination, we value AAPI citizens as an integral part of the fabric of our community. And whereas we celebrate AAPI Heritage Month, we must remain vigilant to prevent anti-Asian hate crimes in our community and must be welcoming and a safe place for AAPI citizens. Now, therefore, our wonderful mayor, Lisa Beatty, mayor of the city of Milwaukie, a municipal corporation in the county of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 2024 to be Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month in Milwaukie, and do hereby encourage our community to explore AAPI history, culture, and accomplishments, and to support local events commemorating this rich heritage. Thank you. May I say two things? I know I didn't put in a yellow thing. I am a Gold Star sister, so thank you for honoring Memorial Day. My brother's interred at Arlington National Cemetery. So I'd like to say his name, Staff Sergeant Daniel Jean Gresham, killed in the line of duty in 2005. And that was my serious one. My not so serious is the Linwood NDA is hosting its first neighborhood-wide garage sale on Saturday, June 1st. If you live in the NDA, please sign up to get a sign. And if you don't, come visit us and hang out. Thank you.
And find treasures that you need to take home. Huh? Great. Thank you very much, Liz.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Before we go on.
Uh-huh.
The proclamation encourages us to visit certain exhibits, and I went to the Chinese Garden this weekend, and I saw two things. First, they have some special exhibits, and that was really awesome to see. And second, it was the first time I had used the digital cultural pass, which made it free for me and a guest, and it was so easy, and I encouraged that. I did not realize how easy it was to use.
You got that through our library?
Yep, and just download it on your phone. You show up, it's you and another person, it's free, so there you go.
Wow, okay.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for those who've used it in the past, you had to go to the library and get a paper pass, and now it's just an app, and you go into the app and you activate it, and it's good for the next day for you and your guests. So I've used it before, and it's wonderful, yeah.
Awesome.
Very easy, and not just the Chinese Garden. There are many things on that cultural pass that can be used, so I was very impressed. There's also a good exhibit at the Chinese Garden.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, and our last proclamation for today is Public Works Week, being presented by our, I thought it was being presented by Public Works Administrative Specialist Jerica Zink and Development Project Manager, and Peter Passarelli. Okay, before they start, I just wanted to say that I was out of town on an extended travel in April, and when I got back, I had this amazing letter from a resident in the Island Station neighborhood thanking me for the work of our Public Works Department, and the resident is a longtime resident. I happen to know her. I do not know her to have ever written a letter to the city before, but she felt compelled because of multiple examples of the Public Works Department going above and beyond the call of duty to respond to questions and address problems that she identified. So I just wanted to put that out there. I did share that letter with council at the time, but it was great. We hear from our citizens about the work you guys do. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Bader.
Beatty and council members. I'm Peter Passarelli, the Public Works Director. And this afternoon, or this evening, I've brought along with me Jerica Zink, one of our newest Public Works employees. Jerica just joined us about a month and a half ago. And I've asked her to introduce our Public Works Week proclamation.
Great.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jerica Zink, and I'm Milwaukee's Public Works Administrative Specialist. I am here this evening to introduce a proclamation for the National Public Works Week, which runs from May 19th through May 25th, 2024. This event marks the 64th Annual National Public Works Week. A public works department is essential to a healthy, safe, and functioning city. Milwaukee's Public Works Department is staffed by 39 hardworking and dedicated employees focused on providing vital services to the community. A few services that our department provides ensures that community members can move safely through city streets, stormwater runoff is captured, treated, and conveyed to adjoining water bodies, community members are provided clean, quality drinking water, wastewater from homes and businesses is collected and delivered to a treatment facility to protect public and environmental health. Urban forest, waterways, and riparian areas are protected. The city is prepared and resilient for climate change, and that our community facilities are well lit, warmed and cooled as needed, and ready to be utilized. As the administrative specialist of Milwaukee's Public Works team, I'm proud of the department's hard work and their contribution to the community. Big or small, Public Works gives it our all. With that, I'll pass it over to Mayor Beatty to read the proclamation. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you, Jerica. It was great. Great introduction. Whereas public works services are important to the health, safety, and well-being of Milwaukee's citizens, and whereas these services are provided through dedicated public works professionals who oversee water distribution, water treatment, wastewater treatment, sewer systems, urban forests, equipment services, public properties, solid waste systems, city streets, and water utilities. And whereas this year marks the 64th Annual National Public Works Week, and this year's theme is Advancing Quality of Life for All. Now, therefore, I, Lisa Beatty, Mayor of the City of Milwaukie, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, do hereby proclaim May 19th to 25th, 2024 as Public Works Week in Milwaukie. Thanks to you guys and to all of the 39 employees of the Public Works Department.
Mayor, can I say something really fast? I want to first thank all the folks who came tonight for the proclamations. This was great. I love Proclamation Palooza. It was Milwaukie at its best, and I love it. I just want to give a particular shout out to Jerica. Jerica, as Peter said, has only been here a month and a half, and is already just taken the public works world by storm. And I just love the enthusiasm and the energy you bring. In the work session before this, I gave them sort of the rundown of the Milwaukie momentum and all of our vision, mission, values, and Jerica walks the talk every single day and has been such a great ambassador for breaking down silos and building bridges between public works and the rest of the city. So Jerica, you rock. Thanks for being on Team Milwaukie.
Thank you.
Just a clarifying question, Mayor.
No.
Was that taking public works by storm or storm water?
Or both, yeah. Great, thank you guys. All right, that's the end of proclamations tonight. Thanks to everyone who came out for those. Now we will move on to the community comment part of the evening. This is the part of the agenda during which council will hear community member comments regarding city business that is not already on the agenda. Before we begin, is there any follow-up from the May 7th community comments Ms. Sager.
There were no community comments provided on May 7th, so no follow-up there. And we've received 3 community comments via email before this meeting. One from David Chietzazan regarding peace in the Middle East, and one on tree code questions, and one on parking permits in downtown. So those should all be in your inbox or in your packet. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Before I read, is there anyone here who wants to comment? You need to fill out the little yellow comment card. No one's told you, Mr. Stoffer, that they wish to comment?
I have no yellow comment cards. There's nobody on Zoom, and I have no emails, so. no
Okay.
comments.
Well, I'm not gonna read through, uh-oh. Oh. I guess, did we go too fast? No, okay. If we don't have any public comment, I'm not going to read the rest of the script. I'm just going to skip over that. Oh, we do have someone who wants to comment, so come on forward and you can fill out the comment card afterwards and give it to Mr. Stoffer, and we'll give you 3 minutes to comment. So please state your name and city of residence, and yeah, we'll give you 3 minutes.
Rod Smith.
Oh, you need to,
There you go. My name is Rod Smith, and I live in the lovely city of Milwaukie, probably 600 feet that way. So, reason I'm coming to have this chat with you is, I recently have been walking around the city of Milwaukie, just trying to be part of the landscape, if you will. And I have had a couple questions that I've sent, and I have the opportunity to be in the same room with Peter. And I would try to track him down later on this afternoon to try to have a conversation with him about a couple ideas and questions I had. And my view of the city of Milwaukie, I had a couple questions about the unincorporated land we have that grows between the overpass and the Oddfellow Lodge. Are we suggesting that we do nothing to them, or are we going to do something, proactive? Like there's a few things we could do to help with the foliage that we've been saying in our public walks here. But we wanted to increase the canopy by 40%. There was a couple of tricks we could do, if you don't mind me using the word tricks in this, to help with that overall number. When we have these trees that are growing there, we could literally trim off the bark, not the bark, but the limbs on the outside, these sucker limbs, if you don't mind me using a euphemism such as that, and allow the canopy to become fill on the top. Now, we have quite a few of these regions, and I know that won't add 100% of what we're looking for, but this could give us a few presses, 10% what we're looking for. And I know Public Works is knee-deep in a lot of problems. When I say problems, I mean a lot of work they already have on their plate. And I was curious if there was a possibility that the city council could come up with a group of people who would be willing to help with the city works, especially with this unincorporated lands, to help with the trimming back of these sucker limbs on the back of these trees, allowing us as a community to help with the ultimate goal of 40% that it says here in this lovely, the Milwaukie Community Climate Action Plan, which I have taken some time and taken some notes. And I was thinking, is there anything I could do as a citizen of this lovely, lovely city? I know I use the word lovely a lot because it is lovely. It is a beautiful green space where I find myself walking up and down the streets, remembering when I first came here after Katrina and how it just kind of talked to me. It was like welcoming me back to the place my people came from. When I heard you speaking about the Native Americans, it really caused me a little bit of distress because we were a couple of the people that was displaced from here. And since before 1924, 28, we wasn't even given the right to vote in this nation. So a lot of chances came about, and I took them, and I found myself back where we began. I love it here. I really do. And to be honest, I don't know if it was subconscious or perhaps I was just a crazy fancy, but I didn't even start having children until I reached a place I felt safe at. And my wife and I have 3 lovely children that were each, don't mind me being so bold, made and born in this beautiful land. So I kind of like to say, well, introducing a wild native species back to the environment they came from, if you don't mind me being a little bit of a joker on that. And I was thinking that this was one of the things we could do to help with revitalizing the nation and this small little area that grassroots people can come out and help the city council, help the city itself, do something very active. Now, I am not saying that I would do this willy-nilly, but I am surrounded by individuals who are arborists, and they have no problem volunteering their time to come and help with this trimming. Now, the question is, are we permitted to do so?
Thank you for coming, Mr. Smith. And I neglected to read my little script before you started, but we don't typically answer questions directly from the dais. We let staff come back the next meeting as was indicated before. I will say your question raises a lot of different issues between property and public works roles and code enforcement roles, et cetera. So I will be interested to hear the answer that we get from staff at our first meeting in June. But so feel free to please tune into that, and we will have some information for you there. I appreciate your volunteerism motivation. And I will note that there are some groups not working on the specific area you noted, but the Historic Milwaukie neighborhood does some beautification along Main Street. The Milwaukie Parks Foundation has volunteer work parties in Minthorn Springs on the 2nd Saturday of every month, and Elk Rock Island on the 3rd Saturday of every month. And we love having people with kids, so bring those kids and come out and we can pull some ivy and other things like that. But as to your specific concern about the trees along 224, I'm going to let staff come back to us with some information on that in June.
30 seconds.
Okay.
I will say this. About a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I came forward to sit at the other facility and discuss the nature of why I was there. Biggest problem I had was interaction between our city and the population that lived outside the meme that was the city itself. When I discussed the removal of the black rot incident upon our trees, I believe you was one of the only individuals, Adam was there, of course, to point out that you knew that there was a way to remove that material. I showed you that I had emails almost 4 years prior explaining that I was bringing my brothers, who were all arborists at the time, who would be offering their time and the chemicals so you didn't have to pay a single dime. And we were, I won't say ignored, but we were overlooked upon what we had offered. The idea is that this is something that our city should realize, that we're not going to accomplish what we want without making bold moves. And some of the most boldest moves is doing something. You can get things lost in committee all day long, but I have 2 hands and they have more scars than most people have. And I have no problem giving you a little bit of the flesh that's on these bones. So, bold moves, bold decisions, I'm willing to help. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Stoffer, no one on Zoom? Okay. So with that, we will move on to tonight's consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda includes minutes of the City Council April 2nd, 2024 work session, April 2nd, 2024 regular session, April 9th, 2024 study session, April 16th, 2024 work session, and April 16th, 2024 regular session. In other words, all of our April meetings. And a resolution acting as the local contract review board, approving a construction contract for the 2024 slurry seal project to Black Line Inc. Does any member of council wish to remove a consent agenda item? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve consent agenda as written.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as written. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. None heard. The consent agenda is passed unanimously. And with that, we'll move on to our public hearing on the solar project contract. The public hearing on the proposed solar project alternative contracting is called to order. The purpose of this hearing is to hear the staff report, take public comments, deliberate, and consider authorizing an alternative contracting method for the Johnson Creek Facility Solar Project. Does any member of council wish to announce actual or potential conflicts of interest? Seeing none, I will turn it over to Public Works Director Peter Passarelli and Mandy Bird, Development Project Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Beatty and council members. I'm Peter Passarelli, the Public Works Director. With me tonight also is Mandy Bird, our Development Project Manager, and Mandy's been working with me on our solar, Johnson Creek Solar Project. If you recall, we did get funding from the state last summer, $375,000 through the state legislature last year, and we've been working on developing a project. And Mandy is here tonight to walk through an alternative procurement methodology that we'd like to use for this project.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. I'm Mandy Bird, Development Project Manager. So Peter started the refresher on the project, but this slide here is just kind of reiterating what we are proposing here, what we proposed for the scope of the project when we applied for the grant funds, which is a rooftop installation, 120 kilowatt solar system that'll produce 118,000 kilowatt hours, which is approximately 65% of the load out there at the JCB campus.
Sorry, can you go back and tell it, is that existing roof or is that indicating where you're proposing to put the solar?
Yeah, that's an existing aerial shot of the campus. Yeah. And then our next slide here is the numbers that Peter was talking about. Our state grant fund was for $375,000. It expires next summer, and then this is a breakdown of the line items that we also put in our proposal for the grant funds. And the difference there with the $450,000 is additional funds that between 375 and 450 are Public Works budget numbers. Yeah, go ahead. So why are we looking at design build for this project? There's a bunch of reasons. First of all, from the slide, we can see that this project is basically has a design phase and a construction phase. So rather than splitting it out into two separate solicitations, which takes up more time, we combine the two. And one of the other things along those lines is if we were to split it out and do a low bid for the construction, we would need to have a developed scope to put in there. So we would need to do a design RFP as well. And when I spoke with the solar consultants locally, no one was really interested in only doing the design. But if you were to involve someone in the design, then they would be excluded from the install. So no one really wanted to do that, which is understandable because the meat of the project is doing the construction on it. So it'll save us time to do this method. Additionally, with design build, when we're evaluating proposals, it allows us to look at at the proposer's qualifications, experience, their project approach, as well as pricing. Whereas with a low bid, you're only looking at pricing, and those other things kind of go by the wayside. You just get who you get, basically. Additionally, with the scoring on design build, it allows us to allow points or allocate points if firms are COVID certified. So that's our minority, women, emerging small business, MWESB certification through the state, which goes towards our equity goals. Another reason is since solar is sort of a specialized area of construction, this design build process is much more collaborative so that we can tap into the expertise of whoever we get through the RFP. And then through the design phase, we can work with them and have it be kind of more of a collaboration with their recommendations informing the design. That firm would be more invested in how the design turns out because they're going to also be installing. And then lastly, with design build, there's more opportunity to look at alternates and value engineering and value added scopes. So things like the battery backup power, we'll be asking them to have it as an alternate so that we can look at that through the design phase and price it out and see if it falls within the budget or not. And again, things like that with low bid would already be either in or out. It's kind of like already pre-cooked. So we can go to the next one. So basically the next steps, if council were to agree tonight to this resolution, we would be releasing an RFP for the design build services, awarding the contract later this year, and then design services kicking off by winter, and then construction taking us through spring and completing in early summer of next year. This picture here, Mayor Beatty, is kind of a rough sketch of some panels on some roofs out there, but it's not a design by any means. It's just kind of a graphic depiction of, what it could look like. And with that, the last slide is just our question Q&A if there's questions.
Do people have questions? Yep.
Yeah, I had a couple. From what you had explained about the benefits of this, it's my understanding that a lot of local governments are moving towards this kind of alternative method for the various reasons that you mentioned, but that aren't really specific to this project. You can make those same arguments for many projects. Is that right?
Yes, and I do make those arguments.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to make sure there was nothing specific about this. I mean,
No, I would
se.
always advocate for design.
Yes, that's what I thought. Okay. And just so I know from the procedural standpoint, because it's this kind, we have to have a public hearing? Why, is that right? Or why? Okay. Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Counselor Stavengeward?
Thank you. I just have one question. Could you go back to the slide that shows the aerial? Do you know is it cost prohibitive to do solar arrays over more of the open space rather than putting them on the buildings? Like,
I don't know the answer to that at this point in time, but I can appreciate that. There's certainly some sloped areas on to the east of the buildings that perhaps you could put solar arrays that are slanted. Most of the other open space that we have out there is part of our sort of normal traffic patterns and storage areas, so it would be challenging to put it on that ground there.
okay.
But that
Yeah.
certainly could be something that could be looked at during the design, what makes the best
Exactly.
sense.
Okay. I know that there are some models that actually put solar over parking areas, but I imagine the clearance that you would need for your traffic patterns might be a little, I don't know, like wind prohibitive. But I was just curious.
Council President Massey, you have?
Sure. In one of your first slides, you mentioned that the grant funds had to be exercised by when?
Next summer, June 30th.
So that means if you have a contract in place, that fulfills the requirement, or do you have to be complete with the project?
Unless we get an extension, we would need to be complete with the project.
Is this tight?
I'm hoping that we will find that out once we release the RFP. That's one of the questions in the RFP for them to address is, what do you think of our schedule? And I mean, we have gotten extensions from the state in the past on grant money, so that will be answered.
Yeah, just an observation. That doesn't look like a lot of
It's
buffer here.
It's not an extremely complicated project, so but yeah, it's a good question. I have the same question.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think, what would be, what could be challenging if there were supply chain issues related to those panels and, contractor availability. But as Mandy mentioned, that the project itself is not that complicated and shouldn't really take that long to construct.
Other questions? I had the same instinct that Councilor Savagord had about the, asking about the park, placing it over parking, because I feel like that sort of then creates some shaded parking for employees' cars too. So, I mean, it has a double benefit. But I can imagine that it's just to build those structures and stuff may add to the cost. I have no idea, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they say about the roofs and the roof's ability to support it too. So, I mean, all that stuff may be on the table. Okay. If no other questions, have we received any additional correspondence? Have we received any correspondence on the topic? No. Okay. Does anyone wish to comment on the proposed alternative contracting method? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone wanting to comment on that, so I won't read that long script. Oh, well, I'll ask Mr. Stauffer, no one online? Okay. Okay. Does staff have any response to the testimony? Since there was no testimony, you don't have response. Does council have any last questions for staff? Okay. We'll fill out the yellow comment card and I will read the script. The council will now take public testimony on the proposed contracting method. I will recognize speakers and any questions should be addressed through me. When you begin to speak, state your name and city of residence for the record. For those in person who wish to speak, please submit a yellow comment card. If you are on Zoom, please use the raise hand reaction to alert staff that you wish to speak, and when instructed to begin, click the microphone option to unmute yourself. If you are telephoning in through Zoom and would like to make a comment, dial *9 to raise your hand. You may also submit a comment via email to ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov. Presentations times for all speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Please confine your remarks to the proposed action, avoid repetition and irrelevant information. So, Mr. Smith.
Mayor Beatty, the community members withdrawn their interest in speaking on this topic.
Okay, great. All right, well then, I will go back to, does council have any final questions for staff on this? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close the public comment part of the hearing.
I move to close the public comment part of the solar project alternative contracting method hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public comment part of the solar project alternative contracting method hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. None heard. The public comment part of the hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? No, I'm seeing just nods. So is council ready to vote? I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resolution acting as a local contract review board, adopting findings in support of using the design build alternative contracting for the Johnson Creek Solar Project.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the resolution acting as the local contract review board, adopting findings in support of using the design build alternative contracting for the Johnson Creek Solar Project. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. None heard. It passes unanimously. This is not one where we have to do any kind of polling or any, okay, great. Well, thank you. Thank you. Look forward to hearing more as the year goes on about how that goes. All right, so next we have the public hearing on the climate-friendly Equitable Communities Code amendments. The public hearing on the proposed climate-friendly Equitable Community Code amendments, file ZA-2022-005, is called to order. The purpose of this hearing is to hear the staff report, take public comments, deliberate, and consider adopting the proposed code amendments. Does any council member wish to announce actual or potential conflicts of interests? Seeing none, I will turn it over to Community Development Director Joseph Brilio and Associate Planner Ryan Dyer.
Yes, thank you. Mayor Beatty and Council, Joseph Brilio, Community Development Director, Acting Assistant City Manager, and I'm here as a pinch hitter for our planning manager, who's so I'm also acting planning manager right now. She had a family emergency, but I'm happy to be here. And I just wanted to start off, we're here before you tonight to talk about kind of the final, this might be the last meeting that we talk about CFEC and the conformance or code amendments to allow the city to remain in conformance with those provisions from the state. But before I pass the mic over to our resident expert on CFEC, what a difference a month makes. Just want to say that Ryan Dyer was here about a month ago talking about CFEC with you all, and he was assistant planner. And then fast forward to May, and he's associate planner. So just congrats, Ryan. Well deserved. And it also kind of goes with some of our strategic planning conversation that we had during the work session, just about growing employees here. So anyways, with that, Mr. Dyer.
Thank you, Joseph, and all of your titles. Good evening, Mayor Beatty and members of council. So I was just here last month, as Joseph mentioned, with the same overview. So I'll try to be efficient with your time tonight. I've done some condensing of this presentation. Of course, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. But I would just ask, because I've done that condensing, maybe to hold questions until the end if possible. I understand if you can't help yourself and just need to get in there, but at that. Let's see here. Okay, a brief background of the state's rulemaking. You've all heard this before. The origin of the code amendments dates to 2020 when Governor Brown, realizing that the state was failing to meet its greenhouse gas reduction targets, issued an executive order directing state agencies to basically do what they can to reduce climate pollution in the state. In response, the state's land use agency, the Department of Land Conservation and Development, initiated the Climate-Friendly and Equitable Communities rulemaking process, also known as CFEC. That process amended the administrative rules that govern how communities do transportation planning, including how they regulate off-street parking. So a bit of history, local history, city history on this topic. We have been working on these code amendments for some time. We first briefed and received direction from City Council in August of 2022. We held multiple work sessions with the Planning Commission. It is worth noting that there was a brief pause in our process as the state corrected and clarified some of the rule requirements. And then in March of this year, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended that City Council approve the code amendments attached to your staff report and before you tonight. So what do these amendments do? The proposed amendments would do three things. I'll cover each change in more detail, but the big picture is that they'd, one, remove minimum off-street parking quantity requirements citywide. Two, add new development standards for new large parking lots. And three, update the city's bicycle parking quantity and development standards. So looking at the three changes in more depth, and starting with the removal of off-street parking mandates citywide. This is perhaps the most straightforward of the changes. What it means is that the city would no longer tell builders that they must provide a minimum number of off-street parking spaces when properties develop or redevelop. It doesn't mean that developers won't or can't provide parking, and it's also worth noting that when they do provide parking, that parking will still need to meet the city standards. So second, the code amendments would adopt what boils down to three additional requirements for new large parking lots, which the Planning Commission has defined as a quarter acre or larger. So first, new large parking lots would have to provide tree canopy that covers a minimum of 40% of the parking area. Second, new large parking lots would have to include what the rules refer to as a climate mitigation action. This could be one of two things per our proposed code. So one, it could be increased canopy coverage going up to 50% of the parking area, or two, it could be the installation of on-site solar panels that have a generation capacity of at least a 0.5 kilowatt per new off-street parking space. And then third, new large parking lots would have to provide, as part of a larger on-site pedestrian network, pedestrian crossings that are marked by either a raised surface or distinctive materials. In other words, not just paint. So that's something we currently require all parking lots to provide a pedestrian network, but the CFEC rules add this additional requirement for making sure that crosswalks are visible. And then finally, as mentioned, there was a pause in our process as the state made corrections and clarified some of the rules. As that was occurring, staff took the opportunity to revisit and update the city's bicycle parking code. Some of these changes were driven by new CFEC requirements, but there was also an internal desire to make our existing rules clearer and to improve the quality of the bicycle parking in the city. So these changes, like other topics, can be sort of grouped into three categories. We added new quantity standards. The previous standards were linked to the minimum number of automobile spaces that were required per our code. So with the removal of the minimum automobile requirements, we needed a new way to calculate the minimum number of bicycle parking spaces that would be required. Second, we added a modification process that would allow for the reduction of required bicycle parking quantities if the applicant can demonstrate that there's something unique about their project and the required number of spaces is inappropriate in our code. And then finally, we drew a clear distinction between short and long-term bicycle parking, and we updated the development standards for each of those types. There are rules that say how bicycle parking these are the rules that say how bicycle parking needs to be installed. And I think we struck a balance between sort of saying what we don't want to see and then also providing additional new options for new rack designs, for example, that builders can include in their projects. In terms of noticing, we followed the noticing procedures in our code, such as the 30-day notice, but we also reached out, as we always do, to all of the NDAs. Again, there was sort of a delay in this process where we put the adoption on pause. So this is why you see sort of 2 dates next to some of these outreach methods. And then we also placed an article on the pilot sort of explaining what the rulemaking was about and how the city was responding to it. I will just say that we did not received some correspondence with, I guess it was primarily Teresa Brisall and Paul Hawkins of the Lake Road NDA. They weren't commenting so much on the specifics of these code amendments as they were about the sort of wisdom of the CFEC rulemaking process more generally. With that, you have your standard decision-making options. Staff are obviously recommending that you adopt the proposed amendments and the recommended findings in support of approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have on this topic.
Okay, questions?
Yeah.
Counselor Khosrowshahi.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan, and congratulations on the move up, and Joseph for all your titles, your roles here. My question is you mentioned implementing climate mitigation, so either 50% canopy, so it's either an increase of 10% on the tree canopy or an installation of solar panels. At what point does that mitigation kick in? Like what initiates that? Because it's saying that the standard is 40%, so what kicks it into what adds to that, yeah?
Yeah, so the tree canopy coverage requirement is sort of the baseline, and then new parking lots that are a quarter acre or larger would also have to do, in addition to that, they have to do one of these climate mitigation actions. And that can either be the additional tree canopy coverage, which I would suspect more often than not will be what builders would choose to do. Or instead of that, they could install on-site solar panels. So yeah, baseline 40%. And then you have to do a climate mitigation action as well. They could all kind of be characterized as climate mitigation actions, to be honest. This is, just how the rules were written.
I'm a little, is there any concern about the potential of what the asphalt or the concrete's gonna do to those trees, or how we're gonna do that, burning those roots or anything like that? Because that's a lot of concrete surrounding those trees.
The rules are actually very specific about best practices as it relates to planting trees in parking lots. We were fortunate to be able to, and I might have mentioned this in the past, we were fortunate to be able to leverage the city's recent experience adopting a residential tree code. And having an arborist or urban forester on staff who we could sort of consult on how we could lean on those new rules to sort of make sure that the trees that are installed, both that we're complying with the new rules, but B, that we're getting trees that will survive. Yes, there are standards that will require that trees are planted in a way that follows best practices to make sure that they survive.
Okay. Thank you.
Council President Massey.
Is there a state mandated deadline to implement this?
There is, so we must take action on the off-street parking minimums by June 30th of this year, or rather, the new development standards must be in effect.
Yeah, I thought it was soon, yeah.
Yeah.
Other questions? No? Okay, I have a few. So in terms of notice, you said at the end, you had a slide on notice. So we didn't notice businesses. We didn't notice the businesses on Industrial Way or North Milwaukie or anything. I guess, so can you talk through the triggers? I was reading the code section about what triggers an existing parking lot to have to do improvements. And there was this stuff about if you remove more than 50% of the asphalt or something. I don't know why somebody would be removing asphalt unless they were shrinking their parking lot. So they're even, that's desirable. We want them to shrink their parking lots generally. So can you kind of talk through what the thinking was on all that?
So it would be a removal and replacement of pavement. So it's basically the CFEC rules leave it up to jurisdictions to determine when these new requirements would take effect for existing development, which, is largely what we would see here in the city of Milwaukie. And so we're trying to establish a threshold that seemed fair and reasonable and was consistent with how we generally ask for improvements to off-street parking areas, or put differently, how we, get non-conforming parking areas closer to conformance with what the city code wants. And, we talked about this a lot internally. And came up with sort of a 50% removal and replacement of existing asphalt. So an overlay, for example, and a restriping would not trigger these new requirements. Only when somebody is saying, I'm going to tear up my entire quarter-acre parking lot and replace it, would we say, this seems like a fair time to say, when you're reinstalling that parking area, it should comply with what the code wants, since you've basically removed it,
Okay. So it's 50% of what they have, irrespective of whether it's a quarter acre or 2 acres?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was, that was a tricky.
50% of an existing parking lot?
Yes.
Okay. The staff report also says that we encourage shared parking. How do we do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. We permit it. We have, I believe, policies that are supportive of it. I think in this new world of parking management, I think it's something that we are thinking about and need to continue thinking about as a city, how we are encouraging businesses to leverage existing parking.
But there's nothing specific in this rule that addresses that?
Nothing specific, no. Yeah.
Okay. I noticed there was a note about an amendment that was made to allow an additional parking space for a fourplex.
Yes. Yeah.
And other than that, this doesn't address maximums at all?
It does not.
Doesn't reduce them or increase them? Okay.
Yeah, it does not change maximums.
Okay.
There is a CFEC requirement for jurisdictions within the Portland metropolitan area that have a population of 25,000 or larger. There are some rules about maximums, but we obviously don't meet that threshold.
Okay. And I guess, well, I'm going to pull it up. Sorry. RS 64, it talks about, again, going to when you have to bring a parking lot more into conformance, an existing parking lot. Well, is it RS 64? That's what I wrote. Wow. Boy, my notes are completely off. Okay. Well, so it was something about development of, oh man, I can't believe I can't find it. I felt like the paragraph had kind of a non sequitur in it, because it talked like the first sentence about vacant land, and then elsewhere in the paragraph, it's talking about where you're increasing by 100% the, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
RS 65 at the very top. Development of a vacant site shall have off-street parking. Development of site that results in an increase of 100% or more of the existing floor area. So that's obviously not a vacant site. And it felt to me like that was, I don't know.
Yeah, this is a particularly, I personally find this to be a particularly dense section of the code, but it is pre-existing, these amendments. This is MMC 19602, and it is how, it basically spells out, as we were just discussing, how existing off-street parking lots that do not conform with city code, how they get closer to compliance. And so there are different sort of situations that the section spells out. And one of those, the one that you were pointing out, development that results in an increase of less than 100% of the existing floor area. So this section is basically saying that if you are increasing the floor existing, or if you're, doing an addition to a building, for example, that increases the floor area by 100%, that's when you would need to comply with all of the off-street parking standards in the code. That, I will just say that particular, nothing is changing about that particular rule.
Right. Yeah, no, I always look at the strike through, so I knew that wasn't changed, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me the way that was constructed. I will just say, and I won't belabor it because you can run a spell check or something, but I do think there's a couple places on this page where the reference to the EV charging requirements, whether it's subsection 4 or 5, like in one place we're striking the 5 and replacing it with a 4, and the other place we're not striking the 5, so just double. I think that's things you can consider scrivener's errors if you find there's some inconsistency there, and we don't have to get into that level of detail, but I would just double check that.
I appreciate you pointing that out. I will make sure I work with the city recorder's office.
Okay. Other questions? Nope. Okay. Have we received any additional correspondence? We've received no correspondence. Oh, other than what and that went to the Planning Commission. We haven't received any correspondence, correct?
Yeah.
That was during the Planning Commission.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone wish to comment on the proposed climate-friendly equitable communities code amendments? Okay. Nobody online? Okay. So staff has no testimony to respond to. Last chance for questions from staff. Questions from council to staff? No? Oh,
I just wanted to make a comment, Ryan. I really appreciate how this was explained to the Transportation Systems Plan Committee, and I feel like the way that you're encapsulating the changes is really helpful, and so I just wanted to share my appreciation.
okay. If there are no more questions, I will entertain a motion to close the public comment part of the hearing.
I move to close the public comment part of the Climate-Friendly Equitable Communities Code Amendments hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public comment part of the Climate-Friendly Equitable Communities Code Amendments hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. None heard. The public comment part of the hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? No discussion. Well, I will just say that I appreciate the work you guys have done. I do tend to agree with Ms. Brissaw and whoever else was commenting that the state has done us no favors with this rulemaking. I think it's been a real overreach on the state's part. I think, especially not if I mean, just simple thing, if they'd limited it to residential, maybe it would be more, I mean, to not allow us to require parking for commercial and industrial really seems problematic to me. You know, but we are where we are. Some cities took the state to court and did not prevail. So we are where we are. Any other council discussion?
I just, yeah, residential, just to concur with you, residential would have made more sense, but, you know, and this is what's difficult when dealing with the state is that they put these blanket policies together. And it's like, you know, we're different from, say, Happy Valley that has no industrial park, right? They're just residential for the most part. We're not. And we're a workforce town, a workforce city. And, you know, the majority of people here can't buy a Ford EV Mustang or a Tesla EV, or, you know, people have to get to work at certain times and public transportation isn't always there. And I just wish that the state would have considered that more, considering how much of a workforce we have here and how many people come to Milwaukie to work, and to just not,
Well,
it's overreach, as you said.
and as we heard from the boss of the Megget facility on International Way, public transportation does not, by any stretch of the imagination, suit their needs. So this idea that they drew this map based on public transportation that cut out most of the city is kind of dubious. But anyway, okay. If council's ready to vote, I will entertain a motion.
I move for the first and second readings by title only and adoption of the ordinance amending Municipal Code Title 19 zoning ordinance for the purpose of addressing off-street parking requirements citywide as required under Transportation Planning Rule Administrative or Oregon Administrative Rule 660-012-0400, long dash. Just checking to make sure you're still listening. 0450, and Oregon Administrative Rule 660-012-0630, file, do I need to read the file? Oofda. Okay. File ZA-2022, I feel like bingo, -005.
I
Please
second.
It's been moved and seconded for the first and second readings by title only and adoption of the ordinance amending Municipal Code Title 19 zoning ordinance for the purpose of addressing off-street parking requirements citywide as required under Transportation Planning Rule, Oregon Administrative Rule 660-012-0400 through -0450, and Oregon Administrative Rules 660-012-0630. Milwaukie file number ZA-2022-005. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. None heard. It passes unanimously. Ms. Sager, will you read the ordinance 2 times by title only?
Yeah, you only had to read it once. I get to read it twice. An ordinance of the City of Milwaukie, Oregon, amending Municipal Code Title 19 zoning ordinance for the purpose of addressing off-street parking requirements citywide as required under the Transportation Planning Rule, Oregon Administrative Rules 660-012-0400-0450, and OAR 660-012-0630, file number ZA 2022-005. And again, an ordinance of the City of Milwaukie, Oregon, amending Municipal Code Title 19 zoning ordinance for the purpose of addressing off-street parking requirements citywide as required under the Transportation Planning Rule, Oregon Administrative Rules 660-012-0400-0450, and OAR 660-012-0630, file number ZA 2022-005.
Mr. Stoffer, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Castrobotti,
Reluctantly, aye.
Council President Massey,
Aye.
Counselor Abma,
Aye.
Counselor Stavengard,
Aye.
Mayor Beatty.
Also reluctantly, aye.
Motion carried 5-0, ordinance 2243.
And I don't have any script about, there's no appealing legislative, I guess, right?
No, but
So-
I would blame Scott Stoffer on the lettering and the numbers. I think that's.
Okay. We do not have an executive session tonight. No, okay. Okay. We did council reports earlier, but give people we had a limited amount of time, so I give people a last chance if anybody has any council report stuff they want to do. Looks like Councilor Abma does.
Not so much a council report, but I think in the script it said that Milwaukie Pride was 10 to 2, it's 10 to noon. So I just want to make sure that no one shows up at 1:30 or 1 because we'll be gone.
Thank you for that clarification, and hopefully we've got a little time for messaging on that, so hopefully we won't have people misled. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, hey, we're out of here earlier than I expected tonight. It is election night. I go home and watch. The results will be out in about half an hour. All right. And you do have 20 minutes, 18 minutes to get your ballot to the ballot box. All right. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None heard? We are adjourned.